The second thing we want to talk about is the so-called rule of thirds, the famous rule of thirds. So what does that mean? You'll have seen it on your crop tools, whether it's in Photoshop or Lightroom or perhaps Aperture, whatever it is that you're using. Let me just talk you through a little bit of what that means. So the rule of thirds, there are two main things to discuss when it comes to the rule of thirds. Firstly, the intersections of the thirds. So this isn't my opinion and this isn't a book's point of view. This is part of being a human being. The eyes will be most naturally drawn to the points. If you split, let's say our video here is the frame of your photograph. If we were to split this video into thirds, both vertically and horizontally, at 4 points those thirds will actually intersect. Now the points at which they intersect are the points in which the human eye is most naturally drawn. So one way of us considering our frame more and trying to compose, and as I stress, this is a guide, not a rule, is to use those intersections to draw the eye to where you want your viewer to look in your photograph. So let's say we're photographing a child, a small child. We might place their face on an intersection of thirds so that already our viewer's natural instinct is drawn towards where we want them to look at. So first off, we've got the rule of simplicity, whereby there is very little clutter in our photograph. Secondly, we're using the guide known as the rule of thirds to help make a nicer portrait. When you go to the galleries, like the Tate Gallery, and you find yourself stood in front of this masterpiece for half an hour and you don't know why, this is part of the reason why. You know, these golden compositions, these rules of thirds, they absolutely help hold your viewer's attention. And it's just one of several different composition guides that I'm going to try to explain in a simple way to help to improve your photography. And as I say, some of us will have what we might call, or what someone might call, a natural eye for photography, or an artistic eye, and that's absolutely true. But knowing the composition guides gives you a way of understanding what makes your photograph successful, and it sort of helps break down what is it that gives us this eye, what's actually going on in your brain, albeit naturally, that creates these compositions that are long lasting and pleasing to look at. So the rule of thirds, as I say, it's something that will come naturally to you. The more you shoot, the more you practice, so you shouldn't have to think about it after a while. But when you're learning, it's good to bear it in mind. So the other thing with the thirds is, let's say, for example, you're shooting a landscape, and let's pretend again that this video is our frame. You might want to decide that your horizon line should sit on one of the thirds. Now there are many reasons why you might choose to have a symmetrical photograph with the horizon line straight through the middle, but by using the thirds you can have a very pleasing composition to the eye, something that sits very comfortably. So for example, we were trying to create a holiday photograph, something to give a feeling of well-being and space and freedom. We might choose to put our horizon line on the lower third, so that there's plenty of sky above, and it gives this feeling of vastness and freedom. Maybe that's what we want to say on our photograph. Or if we want to make the photograph that bit more claustrophobic, we might raise that horizon line higher and perhaps have more landscape on there. Or it may well be that just there's a more interesting photograph to be had by having more of the foreground in shot than the top, for example the sky or whatever it is that's above the horizon line. So that gives you a taster of what the rule of thirds is about. There's the intersection of thirds, and there is using the thirds as a position to draw people's attention. So we're going to stop there on this video, and on the next video we will talk about another guideline. Thank you for listening. See you soon.